Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is a great event. My name is Robert Baer. I'm the Vice President and co-founder of Spiritual Awakenings International. And I have the privilege and the honor today of hosting our next event, which is a panel that we've assembled of professionals from across the Atlantic. And I'm going to introduce each one just prior to when they speak. They'll have 20-minute segments to speak, and at the end of their presentations, we'll have a question and answer period. So we have one speaker from Portugal, one speaker from Israel, and one speaker from the United Kingdom. And if you'd like to take a few moments and put in the chat where you're joining us from, that would be appreciated. But I'm going to start with Philip Wade, who is from the United Kingdom, and he is a chartered civil engineer who's turned into a spiritual guide, and he's had a tremendous background, and he's going to talk to us today. And he's from North Yorkshire, United Kingdom. Philip, thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Robert, for that introduction. And thank you to the board for the opportunity for this. What I'm going to take you through is a little bit of a journey on the inner standing spiritually transformative experiences. And I'll start that process by talking a little bit about my own experience first. If I can get the slide to go forward. Yeah, there we go. And then a little bit of an experience and some insights about the whole process. So the ultimate purpose of the spiritually transformative experiences, which I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about over the weekend, and indeed all experience from direct realization, is to realize our true nature, as David was pointing at in his presentation there. And what I want to just share with you a little bit of a survey that I did. Actually, this was from a prior event, but actually the responses to this event are trending to more or less exactly the same figures. And in that survey, I asked people, were they a regular meditator? Had they had a spiritually transformative experience? And if they did, had they understood it? And the answers were revealing. This was for the Scientific and Medical Network, and the ones for this one are pretty similar. It was 64% were regular meditators. 84% of people had had some form of spiritually transformative experience. 84%, or expanded sense of reality is how I phrased it at that time. And did they understand it? 60% of people didn't, which meant 40% did, obviously. So what I want to talk to you about a little bit about is that from a context of self-realization, which I see as a journey from head to heart, dissolution of belief, as David was pointing at in the thing, and the context of what it was called in spiritual circles of dying before you die, dying to the illusory identity self, to a deeper realization of who we really are. Now, I unexpectedly began meditation in the year 2000. I won't go into the detail of that, but that led to a whole host of things. And basically, as that journey unfolded, there were many, many, many experiences which involved releases of deeply embedded emotions in what I call the pain body or the emotional body. But the really one I want to talk to you about most is what happened in 2011 and then deepened in 2014. And it's that bit. In a profoundly deep meditative space or state, there was no sense of this body of Philip. No sense of the person of Philip. and a complete stillness. There was no thought going on. It was just completely and utterly silent. A sense of eternity. Eternity. And in that absolute essence, stillness, silence, two words emerged. And those two words were infinite silence. Infinite silence, along with a knowing, a seeing that that is what I actually was. We all are. And I sometimes refer to this as everything had changed and nothing had changed. So I'd thought until this point I was Philip, the man who was previously a chartered civil engineer. And then the dawning realization, whilst that experience was valid, actually what I'd always been, and we all always are, is this infinite silence or infinite awareness or infinite consciousness. The experience was off the scale. The words that I'm using here cannot possibly do justice for it. They can only point at it, give you an indication of this realization or seeing, knowing, recognition. And really, as the body mind came out of that, suddenly at some point the awareness, the subtlest awareness of this body mind experience started to re-emerge. And oh yeah, there is a body here, and there is this experience of Philip, but now there was the knowing of this awareness or silence, and this actual essence or infinite silence was in fact the much talked about self of self-realization. And that up until that point, I'd been living in a case of mistaken identity, that actually all I was this body mind. And actually there was so much more, and it was a process of transcendence or transformation, moving from the headspace, very much the civil engineer's space, analytical space, to the heart. And I sometimes refer to this as the heart space of silence. Just click on here. So, oops, back one, sorry. On this second slide, hopefully you can see that now. Yeah, here we go. The third slide. What I've summarized here is the essence of the spiritual journey. Basically, as David was talking about in his presentation, is that we have this body-mind belief system, and that we're conditioned into believing that that's all that we are. And that belief in that is a belief in separation from our true essence. And that, it turns out, as it became to in this realization, is the root of all suffering. You don't need to believe anything I say here, by the way, because truth is an experience, not a belief. It's a realization, not a belief. And what typically happens, there are many paths that people experience in life. There are 8.4 billion people on the planet at the moment. And we could say there are as many paths as there are people. But at the two extremes are what I call the path of breakdown to breakthrough. And at the other extreme is an opening from the inside, a heart-led path. Now, at the breakdown to breakthrough process, that's a very rocky road indeed. It can lead and actually can be the source of many of the spiritually transformative experiences that occur in high stress moments, or when there's been a breakdown of the identity self and an opening to the realization of who you really are. At the other end is what the yogis, the teachers, the masters over many centuries have pointed to, and that's the right-hand side of the diagram here, is a conscious path. And it's a combination, I've deliberately put this on the yin-yang symbol, of spiritual inquiry, which boils down to the question, who or what am I? Who or what am I? And then the other part is meditation, which the essence of meditation is awareness. It's awareness. I'm going to invite you all just for a few moments now, just to close your eyes for a moment. Just go with this. And don't try and do anything. It's a brief meditative exercise. And if something comes to you, great. If it doesn't, don't worry. So just close your eyes and just simply, silently notice what's here now. Whatever it is, just simply accept that fact. Without any judgment. Well, what I invite you to do is ask what might seem like a strange question inside, not from your head, just let the question float into awareness. And the question is, who am I without or before belief? Who am I without or before belief? And just be with that. And then another question. Who am I before this body, mind? Who am I before this body, mind? Then finally, just be open to this. What if I know nothing? What if I know nothing? And just gently open your eyes now. Now, when I ask those questions in groups, and we've got a little bit more time than we have today, people start off with identification with the body-mind because that's what we've been used to. But as the inquiry deepens and opens, people start to get words like awareness, stillness, silence, presence, space. And those knowings arise from within. Those knowings arise from within. Now, how does this all relate to spiritually transformative experiences? Well, many spiritually transformative experiences tend, not all, can arise out of the blue, seemingly, whether it's in extreme circumstances or whatever. But actually, what they all are is an invitation from within to look at the source of that experience. What is it that was aware of and indeed unaffected by the experience? And that's what that little meditation exercise was starting to open you up to. And it's not just spiritually transformative experiences that are this invitation. Actually, every experience in life is an invitation to recognition, realization of the self. And this self is infinite silence or infinite awareness. And the key thing in this process is to come to the recognition, the realization, the opening to that which never changes. You might have an emotion, it was not there 1 minute, and then the emotion arises. There's been a trigger event. The emotion eventually passes. And that's been able to be reported. But what was aware of that emotion was also aware of the body, was also aware of other things going on in life. What was that? And even if you can't see that right now, eventually the realization will come that it was actually awareness. Awareness, also known as silence or infinite silence. And then the next key question is, was that which was aware of this experience, whether it be an STE or an emotion, affected by the experience? And the answer to that, eventually, you're going to see is no, it was not. And this then becomes your spiritual anchor, because this essence, this stillness, this silence always remains unaffected, untouched, and unblemished by all of life's experiences. And the universe, if you like, we are one with that, as David was pointing at in his presentation, is essentially coming to know itself in its own experience. And it does that in manifest and indeed infinite variety. And so this points us towards what is it that is the constant, unchanging, unmoving, unblemished essence here. And we're going to eventually see, and life is inviting us to see, that actually it is awareness or infinite silence. And it is indeed infinite, and it's not a thing in the traditional sense. It is unbounded, untouched, and indeed unblemished. And so it turns out the purpose of every experience, an STE or otherwise, is to invite you to realize that. I'll move quickly on now to my final slide.
1 minute.
There's this quote on there, which is actually from the same meditative space, and it says, "In silence, you will realize truth. In truth, you will realize you are silence." And for those interested, very briefly, if you want to visit either thelivingsoul.org or that QR code top left, I have an app which is dedicated to spiritual self-realization. And there's a special conference offer, Conf 40, you can see there. And then there's my book, The Living Soul, which is coming out hopefully in the next year or so. It's been written and I'm looking at publishing that soon. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. That's been a brief fly through the essence of self-realization and STEs.
Thank you so much, Philip. That was fascinating. Thank you for sharing that with us. And our next speaker, we're going to go to Israel. Dr. Efrat Shokef. And she's an author. And I have one book listed here, The Promise We Made, 3 Universal Soul Promises We Made to Our Children. And should be a fascinating talk. So, Doctor, please go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I think I'm heard. It's an honor to be here, and especially as part of a panel of bringing different perspectives and people with different experiences from different parts of the world, because I think what we all know from based on near-death experience and spiritual transformative experiences, that beyond our differences, we are alike, we are loved. And I will draw from David's fascinating talk. You ended with a sentence which is related to my journey, and what I will briefly talk about today is about children needing to, or the guidance we offer our children, that's in my words, to embrace that love in the curriculum. That's our curriculum on earth. And my talk will be about parenting and what is a relationship and what NDEs or spiritual transformative experience can teach us about parenting. A brief talk. So I will share my slides. Yeah, I think we're good. So briefly, in terms of my my story, my near-death experience took place as simultaneously to a car crash. The other driver lost control, tried to fix and fixed into me. Now, we may say, we may often, I call it a car crash, and I don't use the word accident, because there are no accidents. That person who bumped into me is a soul friend. Now we are also human friends. And it's a demonstration of how spirit often conspires to help us weave in and be at the moment we need to be. I love hearing stories about near-death experiences and spiritual transformative experience, but our time is short. So I want to refer to 2 pieces that are related to my journey and what I want to share here. First is that piece of deeply profound acceptance and being perfect as I am in my essence. In my book, I use the words, I felt love bubbling into me. And when I talk about it, I'm immediately in that physical state within my bones, within my cells, within my physical being here, knowing that I am loved, knowing who I am, the memory of who I am. And as it is a memory of who I am, it is a memory of who we all are, including our children, including our friends, including our families, including our 4-legged, which I hope are not going to be barking during this presentation. Another piece was that during my near-death experience, I was invited to a wide shimmering balcony, and I was observing many pieces of relationships among humans, and especially relationships between parents and children. Not all of those images and scenarios, which may be real and may be symbolic, were fun to watch. A lot of them were very, very sad, because we are, as a society, as a global culture, listening to others instead of listening to ourselves, and are making constantly so many choices that are not aligned to our essence. And these 2 experiences of the car crash and being fatally injured, months is in the hospitals and months is recovering at home, with 3 little ones. My first was a little over 3, and my twins were 13 months old. I wanted to be their mother. And that sent me to a quest of motherhood. What is motherhood? what is the essence of motherhood. And at first it was driven just by me wanting to be their mother, not much more than that. But eventually it brought to the writing of my book, a second book, and to me being here. Briefly, the leading questions that drove my quest, my journey. I wasn't able to do anything. So I was asking, what defines me as a mom beyond the doing? Because everything was done and it was amazing and they were loved. The most amazing people took care of them, my parents, my husband, family members. But I wanted a definition that would define me as their mom. And that led me to the understanding of our choice in our parents and the choice of our children in us. The piece of me, if my daughters chose me and that means also I chose my parents, was bubbling within me and inviting an observation about our relationships, our contracts, what do they hold, and so forth. Another piece leading me in my journey was, how can I share my experience with my daughters beyond it being an inspiring story? I wanted to find a way to share that feeling that I hold in my body, not just as oh, this and this happened to mom and mom is telling a story, although they do love reading my book. It's an interesting piece to observe, but it's, how do we live it? How do we bring down those huge invitations that we receive in spiritual transformative experiences and in near-death experiences to our lives here? How do we embody them? Now I know a lot of people, for a lot of people, those spiritual experiences are about the afterlife. For me, in my journey and in the guidance I offer spiritually aware families, it's about how we live it here. What are we to bring here? Because we are alive. If we were to be dead, we are still here. So in general, I feel we have to ask, what is invitation embedded in near-death experiences and spiritually transformative experiences occurring when we are already parents? Nothing is about us alone. And there was little bits and pieces about the process of integration, how hard it is to integrate some of those experiences. We often don't have the language or the background to understand them. And it's a process that takes time, but nothing is just about us. And if it's not just about us, then who else is it about? It's about all of us. It's a butterfly effect. And it is not just about us on Earth, it's also about others in the universe. But in our little perspective, or especially in the start of my journey, my focus was, what does it mean to my family? A shared mutual journey. If I'm on a journey, then so are my daughters, so are my parents, so is my partner, so is everyone else. I'm sure you hear that, oh, and you say, of course, we're all on the journey. But for me, it was a piece that I needed to embody. I needed to integrate. What does it mean? And that sent me to various pieces. Sorry. One is about understanding the personal soul promises we have. We choose our parents, and we choose characteristics, and we choose genetics, and we choose geographical region, and we may choose religion or traditions, and we choose various specific elements that will guide us through our journey. We also have cosmic soul promises, which relate to the pieces we wish as individuals, or we are part of the greater cosmic plan. And what are our actions here? Raising frequency, contributing to various processes are about. And those are the personal and the very broad. And within that, what I want to focus today is about universal soul promises. Promises that each one of us, merely by being born, to my understanding of things, has promised to those children that might choose to come to them as parents. Those pieces that help us embrace who we are and stay true to the past instead of reaching an older age and needing to have a near-death experience like I needed to. I needed that experience in order to come back to my past, and various processes that I'm sure all of us here are going through or went through, and that's our shared journey. I have it here, it's hiding. The thing is, while we make all kinds of promises, universal and personal promises, we don't know what promises we made. And the only way for me as a mom to fulfill the promises I made to my 3 daughters is to become the essence of who I am, to become the potential that they chose, to become who they trusted me to be. Become our potential, embrace who we are, the love, show up to the invitations our children offer, and parent from our essence. It's a dance. It's a dance of finding out who I am, being in that process, integrating the invitation I received in my near-death experience and the invitations that what we call triggers, but children offer us, but are not triggers, but gifts, inviting us to learn who they are, what they need, what are the conditions that are going to hand them a life of joy and wholeness, of walking who they are, staying true to their essence instead of suffering. And that brought me to share what I share in my first book, The Promise We Made, 3 universal soul promises. And I added here actually 9, because after I wrote that book, I received a download of additional 6 promises that take us into becoming co-creators. As our time is brief, the 3 first promises, the promise of truth. Wouldn't we all want to have our parents nourish the truths that we come with? Now, in psychological theories, it is said that babies are cute because it helps us care for them physically. Babies are cute and shiny and luminous, not just for us to care for them physically. They push the button of our own memories, that memory that we came with of love. Love not in only our human sense, but love in what the essence that we are. They come knowing that truth. They come knowing their path. And then we tell them, no, you don't like to eat bananas. No, you can't sleep now because your parent is working and now I need to keep you awake, or you need to sleep now in the car, or you need to do this or that. And they are looking at us as their guides on how life on earth takes place in this time. And they imitate what we teach them. And instead of teaching them to embrace their own truth and trust it, we teach them that the social truth is more important. And we guide them into fitting in and forgetting who they are. So our first promise to ourselves, not just to our children and to our children, is to do what we can in the circumstances, and it's never perfect, in the circumstances of our lives, to nurture their truth. And this is also about the attentiveness. Children know how to be attentive. Children know how to gaze. Children know how to listen to themselves until we fill their curriculum and their days with all the activities and doings and after school activities. And we take away an inherent piece of a human being, of knowing to be in silence, as Philip just talked about, of knowing to be attentive, of knowing to listen to the signs. So instead of looking and noticing those signs we posted, each one of us on our path, we start to listen to the signs of others, to the recommendations of others, to the do's and don'ts and shoulds of society, instead of just listening within. Now imagine again a society where instead of listening to the outside, we were listening to the inside. We would all be aligned all over the globe. An image that in shamanic terms we would call dreaming a world into being. The third promise I would like to relate to is the promise of the motion of love. Every little act that I take as a parent, as a human being, as an individual, to walk a little bit more of myself, is communicated to my daughters. It's communicated to the world, not just to everyone. We all communicate. We're You might even feel my energetic vibration vibrating into yours right now as we are sitting in this shared space, raising our frequencies. And raising our frequencies not just for ourselves, it's always for everyone. Every little communication is communicated to the children. Now, sometimes we have a journey to take. I needed to integrate what happened to me. I needed to integrate the near-death experience. I needed to integrate my physical disability. I needed to integrate a lot of pieces within my life that has changed. But as long as I was in the process of embracing my potential, the potential my daughters chose, I was fulfilling the promise of the motion of love. It is in those small moments, the answering of your phone or not answering your phone when you play with your kids, responding to a text or not responding to a text, taking that deep breath before you respond to what your child just did, although it annoyed you, asking the why. And remembering that it's a shared spiritual journey. So it's not about hierarchy. It's not about me teaching them. It's about me being their guide and my daughters being my teachers just as much. And it's fine-tuning, those constant fine-tuning of being attentive to what we know to be our truth or not, and raising children that know to listen to their truths, know to be attentive to it, have the capability of being attentive to it. In this journey, my family, we shifted to homeschooling in order to decrease that social unhealthy noise around us. So this is briefly in my book, again, and in various talks and information on my website, I go into depths, a lot of examples and a lot of tools of how we can shift our lives within those pieces. But please know that even just a shift of your mindset right now, you shift of your understanding, an aha moment that happens through this amazing 2-day conference, those all ripple to your family. And then embrace the invitation and show up to the invitations your children or grandchildren or children that you teach offer you. As our time is short, you can learn more about my work, both, here's the book, you have the QR code, and I have a lot of free resources on my website that you can explore. And I think the most important piece that I feel we are invited to remember when and weave into our fields as we observe the children that are coming today. The children coming to us today are spiritually aware. Earth's children offer us high frequency. The game is not about adjusting them to our life and to Earth and pulling their frequency down. The game is about us doing everything we can, taking responsibility for our wounding, taking responsibility for our healing, taking responsibility for what happens in our homes and in our communities, and as much as possible also in our countries. And I live in a very confused country at the moment, but doing what we can to raise a frequency so that we can all find that shared alignment. Because when we raise in the frequency and when we raise in our truth, we all reach the same oneness, the same understanding that we are loved. And from there, we ripple it also to the universe. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shokef. That was really great. Thank you. I'm going to introduce our next guest speaker, Lieutenant Colonel José Lucas from Portugal. And a little bit about his background. He's a lecturer in Portugal, Spain, and Brazil, a medium and a guest on several occasions as a commentator on Portuguese television and organizer of the Western Spiritist Cultural Center.
Yeah.
Jose?
Have a good day for everybody. I hope you don't look strictly to my English, because I speak English like a French cow, but I'll try. Okay. My name is José Lucas, and I forgot to share the is sharing for you? Okay. I will talk about life beyond death, the ignored evidence. I'm Portuguese. I live 80 kilometers north from the capital, Lisbon, in Caldas da Rainha, Óbidos, near the coast. It's a very, very nice place. It's here in Europe. It's here in Portugal, and it's here near Caldas da Rainha. It's a good place to live, very calm and so on. Well, I've been a spiritist from 43 years and studying and researching life after death. I have 5 books published by the Portuguese Spiritists Federation, but I don't earn any money with them. And because the Spiritists, we have an ethical position that we cannot earn with our mediunity, we cannot earn with our spiritual activity. The good spirit says us to have your work in the society, and at the free time you must have the spiritual work to the others. Okay, well, after that, let's talk about life beyond death and its evidence. So in the past, people believed in life beyond death, but it was a blind faith. They don't know. They have no proofs. And after that, in 18 April 1857, Allan Kardec gives to the world the Spirits book. And then appeared the Spiritist philosophy. That is not a religion or sect, it's a philosophy, spiritual philosophy. And Allan Kardec experimentally demonstrating the immortality and communicability of the spirits. From that day on, it was no longer necessary to believe in life after death, because it was known that it continued based on resonant faith, based on facts. So nowadays, when somebody asks me, oh, do you believe in life after death? No, of course not. But you are spiritist. Yes, but I don't believe, I know. And we have to put the materialists against the wall, friendly. Okay. Here is Allan Kardec, was the pseudonym of the Professor Hippolyte Rivail, a highly educated and respected person in Paris, member of several scientific societies. And from his research, Spiritism was born based on his 5 main books. The Spirits books, where is the Spiritist philosophy, the Mediums books, where is the scientific part of the Spiritism, the Gospel according to Spiritism, where is the moral part of Spiritism, based on the teach of Jesus, and even and hell and Genesis. They are you can find free these books on the internet in English and so on. Well, So what is Spiritism? Spiritism is the doctrine of spirits codified by Allan Kardec, which deals with the nature, origin, and destiny of spirits, as well as their relations with the corporate world. Well, Allan Kardec experimentally demonstrated immortality, and he established the 5 main and basic principles of Spiritism: God, the communicability of spirits, the immortality of spirits, the reincarnation, and the plurality of the inhabited worlds. Well, since then until today, scientists have researched and confirmed and reproved what Kardec presented to the humanity. But some people say, oh, that's nonsense from people without judgment, weak people, superstitions, and so on. But the facts prove the opposite. It was the most educated people in history who proved the spiritualist research. Allan Kardec demonstrated immortality, and then the scientists came to prove that everything is a fraud. Up until 21st century, there were more than 200 scientists and researchers all over the world that comproved the Allan Kardec principles in the Spiritism. I will show some of them. Do you know? Surely. Physics, physicians, criminologists, doctors in medicine, and so on. Nobel Prize medicine. We have a lot of special persons in the science: William Crookes, William Fletcher Barrett, and so on. César Lombroso, and Frederick Meyer, Joseph Banks Rhine, the father of parapsychology, Alfred Russel Wallace, William James, and so on. More recently, Hernani Guimarães Andrade in Brazil, Guy Playfair in the United Kingdom, Carlos Ozis, Erlendo Haraldsson, special investigator and scientist, Banerjee in India, and more recently, Raymond Moody Jr., Konstantin Korotkov in Russia, Peter Fenwick, wonderful guy, Dean Radin, Rupert Sheldrake, and Bruce Grayson, Jim Tucker, Brian Weiss, and I love this man, Dr. Ian Stevenson, the scientist who best placed reincarnation, facing the official science. Gary Schwartz nowadays, Andrew Newberg, Harold Koenig, a neuroscientist, a neuropsychologist, Júlio Pérez in Brazil nowadays, and last one, Alexander Moreira Almeida, psychiatric and university teacher and scientist that wrote the book The Life After Death, The Science of the Life After Death, published by the Springer editor in 2023. You can see here. It's a special scientist he received some weeks ago the Oscar of the American Psychiatric Academy, the Oscar of the psychiatry, by the relevant work he made facing science with the spirituality. Well, and after read this book, Science of Life After Death, we we can say to the materialistic guys that it takes a lot of faith to believe that there is no life after death. Well, so what happened after death? Just nothingness? Well, in this book and all the investigations since Allan Kardec until today, we have new 5 paradigms of the 21st century in society: deathbed visions, near-death experience, mediumship, cases that suggest reincarnation, and out-of-body experience. With these paradigms, with these things that Spiritism discovered, Spiritism killed the death in 1857. And what is the impact of Spiritism in human soul? The impact is impressive, as it discovered natural laws that underlie the basis of the Spiritist doctrine. Imagine when humanity experiences reincarnation, the moral world will change on the planet, because man will know that he will have new physical lives where he will reap what he has sown. For example, rational prejudice disappear, because I know that tomorrow I could be reincarnated with this or that skin color. Talking about sexual prejudice, they will disappear, because I know that tomorrow I could be reincarnated as a man or a woman according to my evolution needs. The social prejudice disappear, because I know that in another life I could be reincarnated rich, poor, or well off. And what about nature? Nature will be more protected, because I know that tomorrow I will reincarnate and find Earth as I left here. Xenophobia will disappear, because I know that tomorrow I will be able to reincarnate in Russia, United States, Africa, Portugal, wherever it is most useful for my evolution. So, Spiritism brings proof of immortality to humanity. It is no longer a religion or a sect, but rather a spirituality with an ethical and moral social impact in these areas. The religion is very closed, is like a football team, like a political party. Spirituality is universal, and for everybody, every country, every world. And Spiritism try to upgrade our link with God, wherever we call God or other thing. So let us think about the Spiritism without shame, without laziness, enlightening those who follow us in spiritual regard, so that in their lives they no longer act in evil. These 5 main points of Spiritism: God, communicability, immortality, plurality of inhabited worlds, and reincarnation. How happy is it to have this knowledge that brings us peace, serenity, and drives away torment? I live and I will live where? I don't know, but such in the law: to be born, to die, to be reborn again, to progress without ceasing, such is law. And finally, we have these 5 new paradigms of the 21st century society that prove the immortality of the spirits, of the spirit. Nowadays, we have two spiritual cosmovision. We have the spiritual cosmovision and the material cosmovision. Okay? And if we talk, we cannot find one proof, one evidence that there is no life after death. But we can find these 5 evidence that we show here that the lives continue after death. So, in a football language, the spiritual cosmovision is winning 5-0 to the materialistic cosmovision. And it's for me a great pleasure to meet you, to know you here in this join in this meeting, and I hope we will find one day wherever in the world. These are my 5 books, spirits books, only in Portuguese, unfortunately, for now. And our goal is to try to spread the information that life beyond death, it's real. We have a lot of evidence. We have about 200 scientists, top scientists, since 1857 until 2025 that reproved, they proved again the same discoveries that Allan Kardec made. And I hope all of us, we can spread this information in order to kill definitely the materialism, because it's not a good way for the health of the society, mental health of the society. And I left here my contacts, and if I can spread, I can send the PowerPoint if anybody or somebody wants it. You are free to email me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jose. It was fascinating.
I hope do not spend more time.
Perhaps we can have you back sometime, each one of you to come back and give a full presentation. But for today, that's it for our panel, except we have time for some questions and a Q&A period. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll read them, either for the entire group or for individual members. Be glad to do that. Yes, Jose. I actually have a question for you, Jose, while you're doing that. When did you first experience your mediumship tendencies? Do you recall that? And the circumstances?
Yeah. I didn't want to be a medium. I was afraid, and everybody said me, "Okay, José, let it be." But I had a conflict, a fight between the reason and the feel. And I met a psychiatry, a spiritist psychiatry in Portugal. And I made regression, do you know? Regression therapy with her. And okay, I have to resolve this problem because I know the theory of the Spiritism. I understand it with reason, but I have it's difficult to put in practice, but because my feelings. And in the regression, life past lives, in a past life, in the spiritual world, I was caught by some courts, one court of the Inquisition, and I was closed in a cave along 30 years until to be caught by the good spirits before my reincarnation. So when I reincarnate, I had in my soul an information like this: spirituality equals suffering. And it was the reason because non-conscient, I didn't want to be a medium. After the therapy, the mediunity spread, and I received message writing, talking, sometimes by the visions when the spirits wants to be shown, and we work. The center, the Spirits Culture Center, where I work in the free times, we teach the young guys, the people that have mediunity, to work with it safely, to work with it without fears, and so on. It was a continuous. It didn't appear suddenly.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I have a question for Efrat. And this is from Dana. And the question is, have you encountered conflict teaching children to not conform to society expectations?
So, hi, Dana. We don't teach children not to conform to society's expectations. We guide children to follow their truths and follow their paths. Some children that I meet and families that I meet need different conditions. They need quiet space. They can manage only in very small classrooms. They need guidance how to embrace their mediumship or ability to see energies and auras and feel things that are going on in class. Some children, as part of their past, need to go through society's expectations because this is part of what they asked for. So in terms of how you construct the question, we guide children, we strive to guide children to be who they are, to embrace their journey, their essence, their truths. It's not the same for two children. It's not the same for two families. The more we each as parents walk as who we are, the more the essence we walk, the more we are able to create the conditions our children ask for merely by how we walk. Not being conscious of every word we say or everything we do just because of how we walk. I'm embracing my spirituality. I open the door for my daughters to each embrace her spirituality in the ways that she needs. But at the same time, yes, we do have, in my perspective, a problem with current educational systems. I would say that in general, focusing on the mind, not focusing on the heart, and a lot of children that are coming to us today asking to embrace love, to be in nature, to stay connected to who they are. And those systems, not all systems, but most systems, just do not fit to who the kids are. The systems are a few steps back. So there is a challenge, and that's where we parents come in, because we need to remember that every kid, first and foremost, chooses their parents or grandparents or another significant adults. They don't choose the educational systems. And yeah, to keep it short, we do a weaving of that. So I hope I answered your question. If not, just contact me through my website. You have the email there, and I'd be happy to answer more.
Thank you. I have a question now for Philip. This is also from Dana. Philip, how do you keep the monkey mind from disturbing your mental silence?
The short answer to that is through the power of awareness. So in the presentation stroke experience, I was pointing to a presence, an awareness, a stillness that's always untouched and unmoved by whatever's appearing. So be that a thought, an emotion, a feeling, an external experience. This awareness, when it's recognized, realized as that which you are, and that's the infinite silence equals awareness. This is like simply a silent observer that is untouched and unmoved and is present within us all, always. And if you like, because that it effectively sees or observes any phenomena, be it thoughts, emotions, sensations, and is completely unaffected by them, what happens actually in the human experience is that what we call the mind naturally stills. So it's not about quieting the mind, it's by looking at the phenomena from within, from this unchanging presence. That's when everything becomes still, calm, and quiet. So the short answer is through the power of not personal awareness, it's the unchanging universal awareness. If you want to explore that further, you can have a look at my website, thelivingsoul.org, but hopefully that's a good enough one for you for now.
Fascinating. I'm going to stick to Philip for just a moment too, because I find your background fascinating. What was it like to change from being the professional you were to what you are now? What did you go through to experience that?
How long have you got?
Fascinating background.
Yeah, so what the short answer to that is that in the year 2000, I was in Whistler in Canada, on the west coast of Canada, skiing, and I remember waking up in the morning and I'd been dreaming about work, and that was the last thing I wanted to be doing on a skiing holiday. And I remember saying under my breath, "This has got to stop." And in short order, that led to meditation. I found a book called Calm for Life, and that taught me the basics of meditation. And I meditated every day, no matter what was happening, working 60-hour weeks. That led in short order to various complementary therapies, which were transformative for me. But the one constant was the meditation. And 5 years into that meditative journey, I realized that my path no longer lay in the path of civil engineering, although I'd risen right up the ladder to be a director of a very, very large business. And a few years later, in 2009, I walked out of that from a clear knowing that this is how I was being called. And as that happened, I walked out into a big void. Everything just opened up inside. The spiritual experiences and insights took off, and just deepened and deepened and deepened. And a clear insight came with that as these experiences, clarity as that I was actually supposed to share these seeings, these realizations. I was meant to share with the world. And one of the key essences of that was the term infinite silence. And that is the essence of what I share. I've had countless insights about what to share, how to share, where to share, ever since that. And my life has been dedicated to it ever since I walked out of my old world. So that's the short version, basically.
Thanks for explaining that. Jose, Lynn put a question in the chat. Are you familiar with Michael Newton's work?
Excuse me, I didn't understand. Familiar what?
Are you familiar with Michael Newton, Newton, Michael Newton's work?
No, I'm not familiar with it. I forget to say one thing, if I can quickly. The main focus of the Spiritism, it's not to turn all people Spiritists. No, the main focus, the first one, is people learn that they are immortals, they are spirits, and they know the reincarnation, that all we do, we can after that receive in accordance with, and so on. And I like to let a thought that I try to use in my life, that my friend is not who thinks like me. My friend is who thinks with me. And if we made it day by day, we will change our world.
Thank you. I have a couple of requests here in the chat, and this will be the last question. We're just running out of time. And this is Philip. For you, what was the book that taught you how to meditate?
So I believe it was in Calm for Life, but I wouldn't, if you're going to look that up, it's quite an old book, and I wouldn't necessarily point you at that to learn to meditate. There were many other things in that book, but I'm pretty sure it was in that one. But what I would like to say to people is something really profoundly important about meditation, and it's this. The essence of meditation is awareness. The essence of meditation is awareness. And it's this awareness that sees all the phenomena. If you work with that and that alone, you can drop all the techniques and just simply focus on awareness. But if I can go to explain that more fully, if people would like, but I'm conscious that we might be limited for time. But that exercise I did in the presentation is about opening you up to that awareness. So one of the ways that we do that is through exploring the question, the fundamental spiritual inquiry question, who or what am I? And then there are other manifestations of that, which I included in the presentation. Who am I without belief? Who am I before this body-mind? What if I know nothing? What these questions, these inquiries do, which are not mental inquiries, they're awareness inquiries. They will open you up to recognizing this unchanging awareness. That's probably as much as I can sort of cover for now. I'm conscious that we've got limits on time, so if that's okay for you, I'll leave it there.
Thank you. We're actually out of time, and I want to, on behalf of Spiritual Awakenings International, I'd like to just thank each of you, each of the panelists,